This is the multi-voice text-to-speech podfic reading of The Valentine Moon by Krethes, composed by Burning Aurora, Caliana, and Flower Hawk. He's 14 when he realizes. He's always known, he supposes, in the back of his mind where he stores other unpleasant thoughts, such as his fragile mortality, the ache in his bones, his mother's cough, that he was a little different than the other boys. Lily's shy, questioning press of her lips to his in the library in third year had unburied the box. James's sloppy, that was not just punch this kid is bladdered kiss at last month's Quidditch victory party had blown the dust off of the sealed box of uncomfortable thoughts, but Sirius has blown it wide open. He'd come back from summer holidays a little taller, not as tall as Remus, who worried he wouldn't ever stop growing, but broader through the shoulders, stronger. He'd evaded his mother's multiple attempts at cutting his hair into something respectable, and though his voice was changing, settling into a register that made parts of Remus take notice, he was doing so gracefully. While Remus and Peter and James all had embarrassing turns of squeaky falsetto, Sirius appeared to be the master of his own vocal cords. Remus figures he ought to have guessed it would be Sirius. Sirius or James, really, and of the two, Sirius is honestly the better choice, simply because he's unobtainable. James is too, in his own Evans is looking fit this year, yeah, way. But Remus could see something happening between them, maybe, once or twice. Sirius, though, he is the wind whipping through Remus's life, kicking up leaves and swirling them around in pretty patterns only to leave him breathless and shivering. Sirius with his watchful eyes and his steadying hands. Sirius with his beautiful, breathtaking face and sparkling laugh. It's just a pash, Remus hopes. No knows, and it'll pass in time, but being in close proximity to someone so perfectly lovely is hard, especially this time of year. While Valentine's Day previously went uncelebrated by most of the students of Remus's year, now that they were all 14 going on 15, there was a certain expectation that hangs in the air. Girls gather in gaggles and giggle at him and his friends when they pass. James and Sirius puff up their chests and walk taller, while Remus and Peter exchange embarrassed grimaces. Notes are passed in class, and plans to go to Hogsmeade together are being made. Remus keeps clear of it. He's not interested in girls. That previously referenced kiss with Lily had all but solved that for him, but even if he was, he can't. There's a full moon, because of course there fucking is, would he never catch a break. And while his friends are cozied up in front of the fire, or drinking butterbeer and making eyes at each other, Remus will be rending his flesh and turning into a monster. It's not as dramatic as that, except it definitely is. He's tired, it's been 10 years, 10 fucking years of this with no relief. He just wants 1 month where he wasn't anxiously watching the night sky. 1 month of peace, of normalcy.
Morgana's minge, Mooney. What's that quill done to you?
Sirius's laughter interrupts Remus's melancholy, and Remus stares down at the quill, cracked and broken in his hand.
Is it one of those quick quotes ones? Because Gideon gave me one last week and you should have seen the things it wrote about our Minnie when I was trying to dictate my transfiguration essay.
Sirius prattles on in his way, bounding across the dormitory to flop across Remus's bed. His weight crumples the potions homework Remus has been fussing over for the past 2 hours, but it was rubbish anyway.
No, it's potions.
Remus offers lamely, gesturing to the smeared essay. He taps the quill with his wand, mutters the spell, and it's restored, good as new. Sirius peers at him through his fringe, humming thoughtfully.
No, that's not your potion's face.
He decides, prying the quill from Remus's hand and sweeping it and his useless homework to the floor.
Oi.
Remus shouts, thumping him on the shoulder. Sirius grins and thumps him back, and then it's on. The 4 of them wrestle often. It's a great way to let off steam, and besides, the brief dust-ups can settle a score far faster than talking about their problem. Though Remus lets James win most of the time and goes easy on Peter, he can't pull his punches, figuratively, because punching, pinching, and prick shots were banned after the incident of the 5th of November, 1972, with Sirius. Simply put, the wolf doesn't want Sirius to win, though Remus hasn't ever been able to figure out why. It has nothing to do with how his heart flutters when he's got Sirius's attention, because it's been going on since day 1, though it's not helping him now. They roll right off the narrow bed and onto the floor below, huffing laughs and looking for weak points. Sirius grumbles about unfair advantage as he pushes on Remus's shoulders, trying to knock him down, but Remus holds steady, aided by the wolf's strength this close to the full moon. But then Sirius's hair falls from its small bun, and God, he smells quite nice, doesn't he? And that brief moment of pause is all Sirius needs to pin him to the ground with a triumphant crow.
So's his tits.
Sirius caws, clearly quite pleased with himself as he kneels astride Remus in a way he really needs to not be doing right now if Remus wants to keep any shred of his dignity intact. Remus shoves him off, but Sirius laughs as he rolls away, holding his sides. They lay like that on the floor of the dorm, Potion's homework well and truly ruined now, giggling like loons.
So,
Sirius says, catching his breath.
I won. What's bothering you, Moonbeam?
Moonbeam. Sirius has started making up new nicknames for Remus's nickname, which is utterly ridiculous and frankly very annoying in how it makes his stomach flop over and his heart leap uncomfortably into his throat. He doesn't answer right away, and Sirius kicks his ankle impatiently. Remus considers lying, but Sirius's eyes, even more striking against his flushed cheeks, pin him too.
It's stupid.
Okay, so it's stupid. I'm stupid and you talk to me. What's bothering you?
You're not stupid.
Don't change the subject, Moony.
Sirius warns, kicking him again.
I'm just tired.
Remus sighs, throwing one arm over his eyes to avoid Sirius's piercing, calculating gaze. He expects Sirius to make a joke, to tell him to take a nap or drink some tea, get some fresh air to wake up, if that's his issue, but nothing comes. Silence drapes between them, unfamiliar, like in first year when Sirius would keep his nightmares at bay, curled up next to Remus. There's a tension there that sets Remus on edge, like something bad is about to happen. But Sirius just squirms his way, somehow elegantly, the tosser, to Remus and rolls to his side, propped up on his elbow to look down at Remus's prone form.
I know.
Sirius whispers, and there's such a profound sadness in his voice that Remus has to look at him. Every trace of mirth and youthful wickedness has fled Sirius's face, leaving him solemn and grave in a way Remus hasn't seen since the first time Sirius saw some of his scars.
I wish there was more I could do for you, Moony. It's not fair. I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
No, it's not, but I'm still sorry.
Sirius offers gently, the severity of his expression softening to something just as unfamiliar.
For right now, all I can do is just be there when you go and be there when you wake up.
Not this month, though.
Remus says before he can stop himself. His cheeks flood with heat, embarrassment threatening to swallow him up.
What? Why not? Are you going home or something?
Sirius asks, confusion plain on his lovely face. Remus peeks through his fingers at him and regrets it. He's too much to behold.
It's the 14th, Sirius.
And
Sirius says, still not quite grasping the issue. Remus groans and plucks up the remainder of his courage.
And it's Valentine's Day. You'll be off with Emmeline or Florence or Bertha or...
Whoa, not Bertha.
Sirius, the vain creature, interrupts and smiles apologetically when Remus huffs.
Or Marlene.
Remus finishes lamely.
Don't take the piss, Moony.
Sirius scolds, flicking his chin.
As if I'd ever be seen with McKinnon. Please.
Sirius and Marlene were far too similar to ever get along properly, Remus knew, but she was very pretty.
Why do you think I'll be off with one of them?
Remus pulls his hands away from his face and stares flatly at Sirius.
Because it's Valentine's Day, and you're Sirius Black.
Sirius shrugs with his non-weight-bearing shoulder.
I am Sirius Black, but it's a full moon. That takes precedence over something as stupid as Valentine's Day.
That fluttery feeling stirs up again in Remus's belly, threatening to spill out in an embarrassing confession that he's not quite sure he's ready to make, and he squashes his emotions down tight. He's skilled at this, at least, a practiced hand at repressing and smothering his stronger feelings to stay. Safe, maybe, or at least in control.
Don't.
Don't what?
Sirius asks.
Moony, you don't honestly think that I'd abandon you on a full moon because of some made-up holiday? Give me some credit.
I wouldn't blame you, you know.
Remus murmurs, shame-faced.
It's not like you can do anything once I'm, transformed. You should go on a date.
Sirius groans and raps his knuckles across Remus's skull sharply.
Oh, piss off, Moony. I'm not going on a date with some bird, and that's final.
His pride is wounded, Remus knows. And while that fluttery feeling is gone, it's been replaced by the twist of guilt for having caused the injury. When Remus remains silent, Sirius stands up with an annoyed noise and storms out of the dorm, leaving Remus to wallow in his self-pity. Remus tries to avoid Sirius in the days leading up to the full moon and, for the most part, is successful. He busies himself with redoing his potions homework with Lily's help and helping Peter with his astrology essay. Sirius, by comparison, flits amongst the girls in their year and above, flirting and joking and amassing quite the following, by the looks of things. So by the time the 14th comes around, Remus assumes Sirius has forgotten all about his hasty promise.
You sure you're all right, Mooney?
Peter, 1 foot out the door, asks. He's secured a date with Bertha Jorkins and seems just as surprised as the rest of them that she said yes. Remus has already forced James out and into the amused arms of a 5th-year girl who finds his twin dimples cute under the guise that James needs a proper first kiss instead of the dozens he'd assaulted them all with at the infamous party.
If you don't leave now, Bertha's going to be furious.
Remus says, he's not all right, but he has to be. It's not his friend's fault, nor their responsibility to see him off for the night. Peter hesitates one final time, offers a weak smile, and ducks out the door. Remus paces. He's restless and scared, something he wishes would just stop. The fear is a lot to juggle on top of the crackling energy that simmers in his core, the wolf preparing for its night out. He's hungry, but the shepherd's pie at dinner with its copious vegetables wasn't appealing. Sirius had disappeared soon after that, Remus noticed, because he always noticed Sirius, and he hasn't seen him since. Someone's coming up the stairs, and Remus tenses, spring-loaded apprehension. Sirius bursts through into the room in a bloom of what smells like meat and lobs a turkey leg at Remus, who instinctively catches it.
We'll make a seeker out of you yet, Mooney.
Sirius chirps, loud and brash as always. He's got his own smoked leg and takes a hearty bite.
What?
He says around a dripping mouthful of turkey. Long gone are the posh manners from first year.
Eat.
Sirius swallows, pounds his chest a bit as it gets stuck and coughs.
Mooney.
Remus's stomach grumbles and he gives in, tearing into the leg with a grateful moan he can't quite stifle. He glances at Sirius, whose face has gone a bit pink, but he thankfully remains quiet while Remus eats.
Figured you'd be hungry.
Sirius says when he's done, and produces a couple of greasy sausages from his robe pockets.
I didn't think you...
Shut it.
Sirius interrupts, shoving the sausages into Remus's hands. His face is properly crimson now, and he folds his arms across his chest defensively and glares at Remus until he devours the sausages too. A glance at James's modified Tempest charm on the wall, something he'd brilliantly come up with that counts down the minutes till moonrise, resurfaces the dread Remus felt earlier. He can't do this. He doesn't want to. It isn't fair. He just wants to curl up and sleep through the night and not face the terror that awaits him. The turkey and sausages threaten to come up, but Sirius places his cool hands on the back of Remus's sweaty neck and leaves them there, breaking him out of his spiral.
You don't have to stay. Pomfrey's going to meet me and...
Hey,
Sirius says, giving him a little shake. The wolf doesn't like that, but Remus bites back the bubbling growl.
I made a promise, didn't I? You will never have to do this alone, Mooney. I know I can't go with you. Not yet.
Sirius exhales sharply and releases him. Remus's skin tingles where his fingers gripped him, and he mourns their absence.
You should probably go. I'll see you in the morning, Mooney.
Thanks, Sirius. You're the best, really.
Remus whispers, dons his cloak, and heads down to the shack. Poppy, she's insisted he call her that since they see each other so frequently, is waiting for him, eyeing her watch, but smiles bracingly when she sees Remus.
Remus.
She greets fondly, her words a warm hug.
I'll have a big hot chocolate waiting for you in the morning.
She stopped apologizing for his situation at Remus's tear-streaked request in second year, but he feels it in the way her hand rests gently on his shoulder. The transformation in the shack is one of the worst of Remus's life, and he wishes, when he wakes to searing, terrible pain across his body, that, like the memories of what he did as a wolf, the memory of the agony of transforming would also vanish with the dawn. The morning's freeze does him a favor as he drags himself to the bed, bleeding sluggishly and praying to his mother's God that Pomfrey comes for him soon. There's a swearing at the door, a startled gasp, the scolding of Poppy to someone feigning recalcitrance, and the squeal of the shack door, admitting the nurse and Sirius. Remus whimpers and drags the thin sheet up over his body. Remus has been careful to hide the full extent of his scarring from his friends, but he needn't worry. Poppy throws up a concealment charm that prickles his nose, and Sirius huffs in exasperation.
Poppy, look.
Madam Pomfrey to you, Mr. Black.
She says, peeling back the sheet from Remus's chest.
Oh, lad.
She whispers brokenly.
Mr. Black.
Poppy warns, already casting a spell that starts to close the ragged edges of the wound.
I do not know why or how you are here, but if you do not cease your jabbering, I will be telling Professor McGonagall about this.
Sirius's jaw shuts with an audible click, and Remus hears him take a seat in the armchair. He's so close, but from the way his eyes flick across where they stand, Poppy's charm is strong.
Just help him.
Sirius mutters. Poppy sighs, but continues to work.
Poor lamb.
She says again, soft as a breath, knowing Remus can hear her.
You've done quite the number on yourself, but we'll get you patched up, Remus. I am going to give you a potion for pain and then one that will make you sleep so I can move you to the hospital wing. Is that all right?
She asks him every month, without fail, something Remus found extremely odd. His healers in the creature ward at St. Mungo's had never asked him for permission. They were fans of the knock the werewolf out and poke it method that left Remus with massive gaps in his memory. But he trusts Poppy more than he'd ever thought possible, and nods.
Yes.
He rasps and lets her tip 2 vials into his mouth. He wakes in the hospital wing, a warm, solid presence pressed against his arm. Remus startles, making the wound on his, well, everywhere it would seem, as he can feel a solid line of agony from his sternum to his hip, bisecting him, start to bleed again. But it's just Sirius, asleep next to his bed with his head propped on his folded arms, on his mattress.
Moony.
Sirius says groggily, blinking silver eyes owlishly to look at him.
Hush, Pops doesn't know I'm here.
I most certainly do, Mr. Black.
Poppy corrects, bustling in to see to Remus's wounds.
I've tolerated your presence thus far because you've been unobtrusive, but do not make me regret letting you stay.
She pins him with a hard look, and Sirius nods, cowed. Sirius stands and steps back so Poppy can do what she can to heal Remus's injury, but they both know the only thing for it is time. It's a wide gash, and his self-inflicted wounds reject the normal stitching spells. He just has to wait it out. It'll be gone in a few days, replaced by shiny pink skin that will silver with time.
Can I see?
Sirius asks when Poppy leaves them again.
I'd rather you not.
Remus mutters. He expects pushback, but Sirius just shrugs.
All right, oh, here.
Sirius pulls out a heart-shaped box of chocolates that's beaten up around the edges.
Bit bent, but's all right, still good, right?
Why are you here, Sirius?
Remus protests. He looks dreadful. His hair is unwashed and hangs in uncharacteristic limpness around his face. His robes are rumpled like he slept in them, because he has, and there are great big bags under his eyes.
Because it's the morning after the full moon.
Sirius says slowly, arching one brow at him.
But...
Sod off with your butts, arsehole.
Sirius huffs and opens the box.
I told you I'd be here when you woke up. Now. I took this from Honeydukes last night, but I reckon it's defective as there isn't that little guide saying what's what. That's where you come in.
Sirius leans in conspiratorially, and Remus can't help but be caught up in his infectious positivity. They spend the rest of the morning with Remus sniffing out the weird flavors of chocolates, and James and Peter spill into the hospital wing after breakfast with more candy and stories of their nights. And Remus reflects that he's very lucky indeed to have such wonderful friends. Finite. Thanks for listening to this text-to-speech podfic composed by Burning Aurora and Flower Hawk.